Yes, yes, yes. Thank you for tuning in, y'all. Listen, for everybody that's listening to the sound of my voice right now, know without a shadow of a doubt that you are a winner. And how do I know? Because everyone in here is one in a million. Everyone in here is one in a million. And I know this because of the heartbeat and the pulse that's around this room right now and around the nation. I am so honored today, along with my co-host, Tamara Fair and B. Cole.
Absolutely.
To acknowledge my brother that's in the building that has taught me from a distance, that has taught me things without ever meeting me before, just speaking the truth into a microphone whenever it's placed in front of him. And when you have a person that gives you those type of skills, you can grow up and have the confidence to do what I'm doing on the microphone now, and that is interviewing the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan. And you really need to give it up for that, y'all.
All right.
Yes.
Minister, we are so humbled to have you here today. Words, I can't put the words together. I do this on a weekly basis, yet and still, my heart is humble right now because I know how devastating it is for our young brothers and sisters in our community, particularly in Chicago. And I'm a young brother that's from 95th and Jeffrey in Chicago, and I grew up around Gangster Disciples and Almighty Black Peace Stones in Chicago, and we've seen so many changes take place. We have a school-to-prison pipeline that's overwhelming within our communities. We have housing problems, economic problems, and through all of that, we are still able to stand, and it's because of individuals like you that give us the resilience to go forward. So I'd just like to start off the show thanking you for that. Thanking you for guiding a young man who had his mother go to prison when he was 7 years old. My mother served 32 years in prison. And I ended up serving 10, which was my mother's worst nightmare, to have her son or children either assassinated or killed while she was in prison or be in prison themselves. And that 10 years being locked up in prison taught me so much, but at the same time, it showed me the disconnect that's in our communities and the things that we need to work on. I'm telling you, sir, I am elated. I'm elated to have you on the show today, sir. Thank you very much for coming to Darryl Cooke Live.
Thank you so very much, Brother Darryl. I really appreciate the honor of being here with you and Tamara and
Biko.
And with all of the wonderful people in the studio. I'm just honored to be here with you. So however God would have you to question me and however God would have me to serve you and your listening audience, I am more than pleased to try to answer your questions.
Thank you so much, sir. We really appreciate that. So I want to start off with just, I see the violence that's taking place in Chicago, and I want to attach it to the historical trauma that we're walking around with as individuals. From the moment that we were put on the slave ship and went through the transatlantic trade lines, to have mothers who were so strong that they jumped overboard with their child versus to come over and be enslaved over 400 to 500 years. And then we have a disconnect when we come to the United States. And there isn't a time that I can recall that there hasn't been an oppressor against us, whether it was the slave master, whether it was the police officer, or whether it was the correctional officer inside these institutions, like, for instance, the one I was incarcerated with at Menard Correctional Center, given over 10 years of my life. People talk about the problems in our community, but they don't necessarily talk about the resilience that we have while dealing with that historical trauma. Can you just speak to the resilience that we have as a people?
The transatlantic slave trade was horror to the nth degree. Imagine our ancestors in the holds of ships, chained together in their urination and defecation, and in an animal state for several months to make that Atlantic crossing. Many of our parents would jump overboard rather than come here to be made slaves. But those who survived and made it to the Caribbean or made it to the shores of Virginia, we are the strongest of the strong. So no matter what they've done to us, we have survived because we are that people that were made close to nature. And when you're made close to nature, nature bounces back. I don't care what the condition is. The natural man, the natural woman, we can't be destroyed. And they've done everything and are doing everything to destroy us, but we are resilient, brother. You are a sign of it. And the fact that we are now in the condition that we are in, and nobody thinks that we could come back from this. In fact, it's written in the Bible, in the 37th chapter of Ezekiel, it talks about these dry bones in the valley. And the bones in the valley were talking to each other. And they were saying, our hope is lost. Our bones are dried. We are cut off from our parts. Now, you know bones don't talk. But this is the remains of a great nation in America. As you use the term disconnected, we are disconnected from each other and disconnected from ourselves, spiritually, mentally, economically, socially, politically. So these bones were talking, and God heard them. And he set a man down in that valley to speak to those bones. And that man spoke, and the bones shook, and the bones rattled, but they never came together. So the man went back to his sender and said, look, I've been talking to them, and they're shaking, they're rattling, but they're not coming together. And we have had some of the greatest orators, scholars, and teachers, and leaders to come to us. And everyone that came, we said, wow, that was great. We applauded. The bones shook. But when they left or were killed or were deported, here we are in the same condition. So when that man went back to God, he said, prophesy unto the winds, and let the winds blow on these bones. And the winds are blowing now. Yes, sir. It's getting harder than it's ever been for us. And now with Mr. Trump in the White House, the winds are howling. Yes. And Mad Dog Mattis is on the way, coming to the hood. Yes. So if we don't want to get together, God will send forces against us now to force us to see how much we need each other. So we don't have long to stay in this condition, and we don't have long to be under oppression, and we don't have long to be imprisoned. Our time of liberation has finally come, and the God of justice has come to take our enemy completely down. And you will be free, like Martin Luther King said, free at last. And that time is now.
Absolutely.
Minister Farrakhan, one Savior's Day, I heard you say to all of the thousands, even millions of people that were watching, via satellite, I have been preaching to you, I have been teaching you, and I have been telling you what to do for over 30, 40 years, for decades, you said. You said, but it seems like you haven't been listening. Now, that was about 4 Saviors, maybe 5 Saviors days ago. Do you remember that speech?
Well, it's a constant refrain. It's like a father talking to a hard-headed child. But my mother used to tell me, a hard head make a soft behind. And we're about to get the worst whipping that we have ever had because we will not listen. Years ago, we knew it was the white man that was our worst enemy. Now, his spirit, his mind, his teaching is in us, and now we have become our worst enemy. So we are doing the top killing of each other, the top raping and robbing of each other, the top pimping of each other, the top dope selling to each other. So we need a whipping. And God is going to put that whipping on us, and when he get finished, you ain't got to worry. We're going to be all right.
Yes.
Absolutely.
But all hard-headed children need a whipping.
Now, Minister, I'm from a time, I was living when hip-hop came into the world. You know, we were introduced to hip-hop and gave our brothers and sisters a freedom of speech to speak positively about our people, such as Public Enemy and, you know, Tribe Called Quest in that era. And it was a time when hip-hop came into the 90s, when it became this big rap beef, you know, with Tupac and Biggie and other rap artists. And you actually called a meeting with all the hip-hop artists and came together. And you made cats, you know, shake hands and kill the beef. And the music today, as I will ask you, what would you say to the artists today that's sending out the messages that they sending out to our young children over the radio, over the airwaves? What would you say to these artists today?
First, you have to look to the hidden hand. Our people are puppets on somebody else's string. We came to educate our people through rap. That's why we loved Public Enemy, KRS-One, Big Daddy Kane. All of those were teachers. But the enemy, when he saw that we were independent teaching, he signed us to record labels. Once you get signed to the record label, now you have an A&R man, somebody to tell you what kind of rap you're gonna make. So it was no longer educating our people through rap. It is now gangster rap. I heard that these white folk got together in California with those who were now engaged in the prison industrial complex. And the prisons now are on the stock market because it's privately owned and operated prisons. A man doesn't go into making a hotel unless you expect some, what do you call them, guests in your hotel. Well, this man is not over prisons thinking that he's not going to have heavy guests. So what they did, they transformed intelligent rap to gangster rap to now drill. So it goes all the way down into funk and filth and death and destruction. So as we beef with each other, then the beef turns into guns. And how did all of these guns get in our hood? They come up in trains and unload trains and give guns to our young people. They're not giving them guns because they think we're going to turn the guns on the white people. They're giving them guns to give them power in their block, in their set. So if I'm a gangster disciple and you Blackstone or somebody else is a four-corner hustler, all of us are looking at each other as the enemy. And then you got to make money. There's no jobs. So I'm selling drugs, you selling drugs. So I got to protect my market. So now my guns are used to destroy another member of my family. So this is why God is going to punish us if we don't see that we are tools of the enemy. We are not servants of God, nor are we friends and brothers of each other the way the Creator made us to be. The enemy has made us the enemy of our community, so the young can't walk the street, the elderly can't walk the street. Nobody is able to stop the pain and the hurt. And so God has to step in, and I tell you what is written. Elijah Muhammad, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, myself, we've been talking for a long time. And all of us are talking about putting the guns down. All of us are talking about uniting these dry bones in the valley, because the greatest power that we have is the power to bring ourselves together into unity. Then 98% of our problems can be solved. But we don't want to unite. So now we are facing a terrible whipping, and I'm hoping that through programs like this, some of our people can be reached and say, look, man, it's time to put this to rest. It's time to put the gun down, killing myself, my people. I'm shooting, don't even know how to go to a gun range, can't go and learn how to shoot. So I'm shooting at my brother and kill a baby that's walking the street. So this got to stop. This is madness, and it's bringing down on us not only the wrath of God, but the wrath of the enemy. So when I heard Mr. Trump call Mad Dog Mathis, now you know everybody got a dog. You love your dog, but a mad dog. People put mad dogs down.
Yes.
And the reason this man is called Mad Dog Mathis, because they sent him into Fallujah in Afghanistan. And that man slaughtered people. So when Mr. Trump say he's sending that man to the south side and the west side of Chicago, he's, in Iraq, thank you. I can't make mistakes, so my brother corrected me. It was Iraq. Well, now it's Chirac. And so this man is coming, and he's bringing forces, and I'm here to warn our people, look, it's not going to be a pretty day. So let's get our act together while there's time. Let's
Getting our act together.
Oh, it looks great if we do it. We're in the hood now, working with our young people. Look, you got to give our people hope. They have no money, they have no jobs, and the enemy took all the factories out of the inner city. So when young people don't have jobs, but they look on television at all these fine things that they can acquire. Imagine Air Jordan that is made in some foreign country for $5, $6, and $7, and we are spending $160, $180 for sneakers to run like we are, this is the style. See, this is more madness, but we're victims victims of a colonial system. And that's why we're saying to our brothers and sisters in the gangs in particular, look, brothers, we're going to have to sit down and work it out. And in our unity, we can make demands. That's our power. And if we are united, we can take control of our communities. You like to fight? Good. Come on with us. And we'll show you how to fight right so that we become the new police force in our own hood. We don't want white people coming in policing us and don't live in our community, don't know what it's like to be black in America. No, you go back where you live and let our young people be trained, not by them, but be trained by us, because we love our people and we will not hurt our people. And if you allow us to train you, then we'll get for you what you need with God's help.
Very powerful, very insightful. I'm looking around the room right now at all the faces of my brothers and sisters, and there's a power that's inside this room right now. Listen, I want you to get all your people. Let them know we're on Darryl Cooke Live right now, all right? We need to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back after these messages, all right? Welcome back to Darryl Cooke Live on 106.3 Chicago's R&B. I just want to send love to all my people in Chicago who are doing positive things in our community, making sure that our children have a place to play, making sure that when our children come home, we're continuing the education and not just stopping it because it's 2:30 in the afternoon. And all my caretakers that are at home as young people raising their brothers and sisters like adults, I take my hats off to you. Yes. All right, so the Honorable Minister Farrakhan, brother, just phenomenal information that you're giving us inside the studio right now. But I wanted to go back to this prison industrial complex because you had said a few things earlier as far as having guards stand over you. And I look at stocks and bonds. I try to check a few things. And I know when I go on there, I can look at, I believe, CSX for the prison industrial complex. And I can see stocks actually being traded for individuals that are incarcerated right now. And I look at America, I look at us being 5% of the world's population, but amazingly, we hold 25% of the world's incarcerated population. And they say you can learn a lot about a country by how they treat the people that's incarcerated in it. I know because of the walks that I've walked, there are thousands of brothers and sisters who have been formerly incarcerated that are returning citizens that are listening to this show right now. And I know for the most part, a lot of people feel dead inside because of the barriers that have been put up against them. When sisters come home from prison, try to get assistance, they can't get TANF for a temporary assistance for needy families because you voided that by being incarcerated. We can't get loans. Could you just please talk to the souls and the hearts of my brothers who have went through this school to prison pipeline, who we expect to come out now and do great things as we should?
This is all part of what we call social engineering. This is not an accident. 43 years ago, I was in Africa, and I came back to make a speech to the National Association of Black Sociologists in Louisiana, in New Orleans. And I read in the paper that white people were advising moneyed people not to invest in the black community because they feared that riots were going to take place. And right now, we're celebrating 50 years of the Watts riots, where many of our people were shot dead. Pardon me? 25 years?
25 years were actually the L.A. riots. That was the L.A. riots, 25 years. They just did a story on that on 2020 Friday night. But I think you're correct. The Watts
we
riots
have been
years.
rioting since the 60s.
Yeah.
And that's not 25 years.
Right, that's 50 years, as you said. Correct, yeah.
Ever since Martin Luther King was assassinated, 100 cities went up in smoke. You remember that?
Yes, sir.
And we were riding in Newark, New Jersey, and in other parts of this country. So the enemy already knew that this was a dangerous community, the black community. And what they wanted was to take the factories out of the inner cities. Because when I was a little boy coming up, I used to watch the black men in my community with their lunch pail going to work and coming back in the evening. But today, there are no factories for those who are not skilled in certain areas to go and have a decent job that in the 30s and 40s and 50s, when black folk were coming to Chicago and northern cities from Mississippi, Arkansas, Alabama, Georgia, and finding jobs in factories and buying property, they never wanted to go back to the farm because sharecropping killed our love for the earth, that we cannot be free unless we have some of this earth that we can call our own. So when the factories were gone, then notice that they closed down every school that taught us trades. Now the young men don't know how to build things as we did in the 40s and the 50s with carpentry, woodworking, sheet metal, brick masons, electronics, automobile mechanics. All of this was taught in high school. Now that's gone. So what do we have now? We have a pipeline, just like you said, to prison, to the insane asylum, or to criminal activity and criminal life. Now, a brother of ours, his name is Dr. Wesley Muhammad. He wrote a book about the feminization of the black male. And a lot of this goes on by taking our young people off the street with frisk, stop and frisk, and they find a blunt or something in your pocket, and then you go to jail, and they call it now a felony. So with a felony, you don't have the rights of a citizen anymore. You're in prison to be experimented on by your enemy. So what they've done, there's a CIA ultra plot to make super predators out of black youth. We are already angry. We are already feeling that the world has turned us away. Our parents have been running for the dollar in integration, but have not done anything to prepare a future for the young. So the young are not interested in listening to mom anymore, or dad anymore, or reverend anymore, or teacher anymore. To hell with all of that. Their real friends are the brothers and sisters in the hood. And so that contributes to gangs. We always had gangs, but we didn't have guns with gangs when I was coming up. We would fight. You come away with a black eye, and every now and then a brother would have a switchblade, and we might cut a few people up. Yes. But we never. Just a few. But we never killed each other at the rate that we're doing now. So what is the solution to this? Now, when Miss Clinton called us super predators, she knew that we were being turned into that by a CIA behavioral program where they take our children into prison and they give them certain drugs. Then they suggest certain things to their minds, like the Manchurian Candidate. And now we come out of prison crazy. We come out as a super predator now because we've been programmed to be a destroyer of our own community. I mean, this is serious what the U.S. government has done and is doing to us. Our brothers go into prison and they give you an examination when you come in to see if you got AIDS. When the young men come out, no examination. So they are being experimented on in prison, and they're into this homosexual thing, you gonna be my bee and whatnot, and before you know it, our young men are being punked. And then when they come out trying to be a man, they go back to their girlfriend, but they already got AIDS, and now they say the black woman is the greatest carrier of the HIV virus. That is not an accident. That is what we call social engineering. So how do we conquer this? Now, what we are, brothers and sisters, we're like a colony. Every hood is a colony. The police are an occupying army. They're not there to serve and protect us. They're there to keep the madness confined to the black community. And by the way, about 4 years ago, when I went out in the streets in the worst neighborhoods in Chicago on the south and west sides, I met certain aldermen, and they told me, and I'm quoting them, that the crime must be contained in the hood. It must never come out of there. So we are being cordoned off, so to speak, so that our madness don't go downtown. But when blacks started going downtown and started raising hell, then they know that we've broken out of the hood like a cancer in the prostate gland breaks out of the gland and is now in the lymph nodes and spreading throughout. So black folk now are not confined with social media. They'll meet anywhere and raise hell. So here's what we got to do. We got aldermen, we got preachers, and we got business leaders. But when you are a colony, your preachers, for the most part, are controlled from downtown. Not all of them. But since most preachers like to be favorite sons of whoever the mayor is, if the mayor gives them a token, then they do the token business of the mayor. The politicians, we send them there to work for us, but we turn our backs on them. We do not support them, so they get corralled by smart, crooked deceivers, and they sell out their power to those who can give them a little more money than what they get as a so-called salary. I was in Benton Harbor with my brother mayor, Brother Marcus Muhammad. He's the mayor. Now check this out. He's the mayor of a city, but he's not allowed to get money from city revenue. They get a little stipend. And a man is a mayor and has to support a family on a stipend by going to meetings, and you get maybe $35 or $50 a meeting or whatever the cost is. And this is in black and white, written. So no wonder the mayors can be so easily corrupted. No wonder the city councilmen can be so easily corrupted, because they are not paid a living wage in some of these cities. We've got to free our people up. And the only way we can do that is the unity of us in the street, putting pressure on our preachers, putting pressure on our business people, putting pressure on our politicians. Either you work for us or we have to sit you down. You can't put your hand in our hand and then other hand and feet in the pocket of your enemy. So this is our job now. Don't tell me we don't have money. That's crap. Excuse my expression. Crap.
It is what it is. You gotta call it like it is.
Now look at this.
Bull crap at that.
Right.
Thank you, sir. $1.1 trillion comes through black hands
That's right.
this year. So don't say we don't have money. We don't have unity.
Right.
And if we had unity and pooled our money, then we could begin to take control of where we live. If we don't have money, why are the Arabs here? If we don't have money, why are the Koreans here? Right. If we don't have money, why is every immigrant that comes to America find their way into the black community to build their empire, their American dream on the black nightmare? So we have got to change that reality. Now, we had a black bank here, Seaway.
Sold.
Seaway gone.
Yep.
Independence Bank gone.
Gone.
Now, ask the Koreans. Now, I know we like hair and we like nails and we...
Wait a minute now.
Now, wait a minute.
Let's don't talk about hair. No.
I got to talk
Let's
about
don't get rid of the
hair.
hair.
Because I know you love your hair. And the Koreans know it too.
Yeah, they do.
So you go and spend $400 and $500 for a weave. And the Korean brother will not put any of that money in a Seaway bank,
Nope.
in a black bank. The Arab stores all over the black community. And they're doing everything, selling drug paraphernalia. And I hear some of them have guns that they give to our young people. And they take advantage of our women. Now, don't tell me you my Muslim brother and say assalamu alaikum to me. You making my job harder than hell by the way you are treating my people. So in the disruption of colonization, our unity, we got to look at these stores. What are you doing in our community? And if your business is not serving the people properly, we need to unite, put that business out of our community, but be ready to take it over. Korea is the only one that can do hair and nails, but they've cornered the market. Even if you have the store, you got to go to them to buy the hair. But ain't nothing wrong with your hair. It's real beautiful. And if we work with it, take that money that we given to them that they will not give back to us, you still pretty. Ain't none of you. I mean, you just the most beautiful woman in the world.
And you see that today.
So
and you see that today, Minister.
we got to bring it home.
You see a lot of sisters today going natural more, you know, going with their own natural hair, and they're not supporting, putting their money into that. So you do see that it is. I know a lot of sisters going natural now, except Tamara Fair right here.
It's good, but what I'm suggesting on the economic side it's kind of foolish to put so much money on your head and don't have too much in your head.
Come on now. Come on now.
Preach
I'm
now.
not talking down to you, my beautiful sisters, but God will be more pleased with you. Look at your nails. I mean, they're already pretty. I got pretty nails. I mean,
Yes, you do.
because they're natural. Now, I could let the manicurist fix them. I could let the, what do you call the woman that fix your feet? Oh, yeah. And I don't mind giving it to my black sister who's going to spend that money, hopefully, in our community. So, I mean, it's really, my dear Sister Tamara, see, it's a problem of ignorance. You're a colony because you're ignorant to what it takes to be free.
Exactly.
Or you're cowards and you're too weak to stand up to become free.
No doubt.
And that's why you need not preaching more, but teaching.
Yes.
Because it's teaching that lifts the veil of ignorance from our minds, and then we can take this colony and make it ours.
Absolutely.
Own our community and make our own community a decent and safe place to live. That's our job.
And these colonies are systemic. They traditionally, people think of colonies as something that the British did. But America is setting up colonies right now in the systems that we have, and we don't even know it. Because we don't, like you said, we're not gaining the knowledge, we're not getting taught. But there are political systems that are set to cut us out. And if we don't wake up and start really researching what's going on in these systems, child care, health care,
Education.
absolutely, all of that, we don't see that they're controlling these dollars that are earmarked for at-risk neighborhoods with not one black opinion. Now, you can't tell me that there are not several black experts in every one of those fields that I just said that could get on at that table of decision making and make a decision that benefits our community.
We have to control the table. It has to be our table, not their table, where they invite us to sit at their table. So they have some crumbs that they can throw to us like a little bird. And it might be a good enough to feed you, but it's nothing to feed our people. We have to take control. And look, it's not hard. Our unity will give us the power to do whatever we want to do in our community.
Is there a way? Well, I would like for you to speak on it. I know it's a way. When we talk about economic control, controlling the businesses and the commerce that comes into our neighborhoods, how does that look? How do we as just regular people control what comes, like the Koreans, like the Chinese? You're not going to a Chinese neighborhood and see a black salon.
No, you're
but you
not.
certainly can see the reverse.
Everybody lives off of us.
Yes.
Right.
And that's why they're called in our teaching the bloodsuckers of the poor. They're like leeches. They offer nothing and take everything. So if we are tired of it, then we need to sit down, have some town hall meetings, call our politicians out, tell them what we want, and go to work. Go to work taking control of our community. It's not going to be difficult when they see we mean business. And as far as policing the community is concerned, there are many in Congress that are fighting for community policing. Now, you go over here to the hospital, Chicago University Hospital. They got their own police force. They own just about all this territory on the south side, and they own their own police department. They can make arrests
And write tickets.
and write tickets.
I got 2 of them.
And kill.
And kill.
And kill. So what about us? What about our control? See, when you own it, you have a right to determine how what you own is going to be handled. That's why to take our young gangbangers and make them not talk about control the black community with guns, control it by owning it. And when you own it, then you got a stake in it. We send you down to City Hall. You be the alderman
Yeah.
Yes.
to write the laws that affect what you own.
Come on.
Now you're talking like a man and a woman that is earning respect from others because you're doing what intelligent people do. They control where they live. And if you go to a gated community, don't they stop you?
Right at
Absolutely.
the gate. Right at
Now, suppose we had that and stop these people coming in. Hey, what are you doing here? Oh, I come to visit Susie May. Who is Susie May? You related to Susie May? Be ready to put something on them
With respect.
and take them out of our community. You don't come in here making whores out of our women. And we don't allow our women to be made whores. Is a way to make $1, and it's not selling yourself to nobody. I know you got commercials going and take care of them.
But I just want to say, and pimping our prosperity, because that's what they do too. They pimp our prosperity.
Well, here's what we got to do. We got to make some prosperity with these commercials.
No, I know that's
We got a
right.
lot going on. Thank you so much. We definitely have to go to commercial break now. Stick around, y'all. We'll be back in a few minutes. It's Darryl Cooke Live, 106.3 Chicago's R&B. Yes, yes, yes. Welcome back to Darryl Cooke Live on 106.3 Chicago's R&B. I would like to thank my listening audience for continuing to listen to our show. Such a phenomenal show today. Great information that's packed inside this show. So to all my listening audience, we're going to extend the show for another 30 minutes right now because it's that important that we get this information out. So, Minister Farrakhan, there's been a wealth of information that you're giving us today, and you gave us a checklist of solutions, things that we can do right now that's in front of us that we can take advantage of. And you talk so much about the financial part, and this is what I talk about every week on the show, not just economics, but group economics. Because we have to take a look at our community, and I always say that I was always curious about that. You know, to walk out of my house and walk to 95th and Jeffrey and to see a beauty supply owned by Asian, or see a liquor store owned by Arab, or see a business owned by a European person in our community. And what I saw was that at the end of the day, before they got ready to leave, first of all, they've disrespected our women all day long. Our youth can only walk into the store 2 at a time because they call them thieves. And then we have people that raise down the black gates in front of their stores, look both ways, get in their car, and take their money back to their community, and we'll never see that dollar again. And what I'm trying to teach us in our community is that we have to let this dollar circulate in our community. Our Jewish community circulates that dollar over 20 times. Asian community, 18 times. Latin community and European communities do that as well. You know how many times the dollar circulates in the black community? It's 0. We're 100% consumption, 0% production, and that's a problem for us. And my key saying that I always say is, I don't want to see another man riding around in a Land Cruiser and don't have land to cruise on.
Come on.
That's a problem to me. Group economics, how can we make that work?
Well, I think you gave the answer. Pooling your resources, that's number one. But if we don't trust each other and don't have love for each other, it'll be very difficult for somebody to take $1 from their pocket, pool it with $1 from your pocket, and everybody in this room put $1 up and then we start doing business, owning land, creating food and agribusiness. All these empty lots in our community should be turned into gardens where we grow our own food, because the food that we're eating is designed to kill us. So we know how to farm. We know how to put good seed in good earth and turn bad earth into good earth, so we can eat the food that will give us longer, more productive life. And so we have studied, and it's out there. You know, a carrot today is not the same as a carrot 50 years ago. When I was a young boy, I was a little longer than 50 years ago, but when I was a young boy, we never had health food stores. Our health food store was the market, the supermarket, where fresh food was brought from outside the city into the city. It didn't come from California to Boston or from Florida to Boston. We were growing food on the outskirts of the city, so the food came in fresh. And so we had more life in that food. Today, they're gassing fruits, taking them off the tree before they're ripe, and then ripening them with gas and coloring them to make them look so pretty in the supermarket, but you're ingesting death. My dear brothers and sisters, look, I was coming out of Mexico, and there was an English language newspaper, and it was talking about the alligators in the Everglades in Florida. And there was so much estrogen in the water till the male organ of the male alligator was getting smaller and smaller, and the sperm count was getting less and less. The same thing is happening today with us. The sperm count in the black male and white male going down, down, down. The penis shrinking. And when you see these things happening, these are chemical reactions. So the pharmaceutical company now comes out with a pill. Hey, it can grow longer. It can get stronger. Take this pill. And if you take these pills, be careful now, because you may develop breasts. Now look, this is some serious business with a pill. Then they tell you, listen to the commercials on television. They say, now be careful of this one. The side effects are you might want to commit suicide because it affects the way you think. Everything is chemistry. So if you got the right chemistry, then your body, which is chemical, this body has everything in it that's in the earth. And if you know the right amount of this and that, every organ in your body can be healed through nutrition, not pills.
It's easy to get the pills. They sell them right in the neighborhood gas stations. Less than $3 to go ahead and tell you that just to make you stronger and bigger and stuff like that. So you even have little teenagers grabbing these pills, putting them into their systems, you know, and they don't even have a chance as they get older as an adult, you know, before they're affected by it.
So you can see, Brother B. Cole, that there's a genocidal plan to take us out little by little. And it's up to men like Brother Darryl and yourself and Tamara and the conscious people in this studio complex to educate our people. Because without our knowledge making a change in our behavior, the foods we eat, the way we cook the food, you're going to end up with all kind of cancers as we are today. We lead in every cancer disease: breast cancer, lung cancer, colon cancer, prostate cancer, brain cancer, pancreatic cancer, liver cancer, kidney cancer. We are dying because of the way we eat, and we have subjected ourselves to the merchants of death.
The minister, your teacher, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, wrote a book, How to Eat to Live. He also designed an economic blueprint for black people years ago. We have somehow gotten away from that. Not the nation, but the nation has gotten away from that. He had gas stations, farms, fast food with healthy food choices. Are we doing anything to bring that back?
We have to. We have to bring it back. We went back into Georgia and bought some of the 5,000 acres that he had that was sold. We bought it back and we're farming again. And we've raised almost $2 million in an economic fund. It's nearly $2 million. And we intend to get it up to about $10 million. And we're going back to Mississippi and Alabama to buy some of that good earth and begin farming again. We have to feed, clothe, and shelter ourselves.
He also had an economic plan with just 5 cents. Everybody had a nickel a day. Would you please speak to our listeners about that nickel a day?
We still have it.
We do.
Yeah. That's how we raised the
$2 million.
Yeah. Look, if you offered your child, your grandson, 5 cents, what would he say to you?
Beat it. Scram.
Because what could he buy for 5 cents? That's the point.
Yes.
You got to deal in dollars with your children. Otherwise, they don't respect you. But if you took a nickel a day, there's about 8 million workers among us at 5 cents a day. Now, 8 million, let me see, if you started with 5 cents a day, 7 days a week, that's 35 cents a week. How much is it a month? 4 times that. How much is it a year? It comes up to about $12 to $15 a year.
I think it's 18.
$18.20 a year. Can you afford that?
Yes, sir.
Of course. And imagine millions of us doing something simple like that. Inside of a year, you've got millions of dollars to invest in yourself.
That's the premise that the dollar store was built on, and now it is one of the Fortune 500 traded on the S&P.
We really need to get back to sound economic policy among us. There's nothing that will hinder us if we get our own foot out of our own way.
That's right.
We are free to do business with the world. I have gone all over this earth linking the black struggle in America to the black struggle in Africa, in the Caribbean, in Central South America, people are ready to do business with us if we are ready to do business with them.
And you know that just brings me to a point now, because we're talking about this economics, and Dr. Clyde Anderson, he talks a lot about
Great brother.
yeah, powernomics, and he was saying that, you know, if we pulled all our resources together here in the United States, African Americans, brothers and sisters, will make up the 9th wealthiest nation in the world if we did
That with the money that comes in
Yes,
to our
sir.
community.
And I see it being spent on a daily basis. I can take just a zip code, 60618, 60617, and just look at the parameters from State Street back all the way towards the water, all the way east, and I see that we spend over 16 million in lottery tickets on the hope of coming together as a community, on the hope of putting money in our pocket. But I think we need to do the work on what it is we're going to do with our money when we get it. And that belief that you talked about, Minister Farrakhan, as you spoke right now, I thought about the Million Man March. And I thought about how my mouth dropped to the floor when you taught me group economics in real time. You said, go in your pocket, take out $1. $1. Now pass that forward. It's a million men out here, right? Then we should have $1 million. And I thought about that. I put a frame around that, and I said, whoa, that was just very powerful what happened. He built wealth in a matter of minutes. And I think what's lacking in our community is the love for each other, to put my money in my brother's hand and know that it's secure. Why do we have that blockage right now when you've given us a blueprint for it already?
Because we don't trust. And what happened then, this is the only group that had a group in Washington raised money and had 2 CPA firms, and we made a public disclosure of every nickel, every dime, and every dollar. Why? Because we want our people to know we're not robbers. We're not thieves. And you know what the enemy did? First of all, when he saw all those dollars go up, pardon me,
Yes, sir.
the preacher said to me, Farrakhan, are you going to proselytize your faith? A wonderful brother. His name is Bishop Brookins. Wonderful man. I said, no, Bishop. I'm going to ask all these black men to go home and join a spiritual house of their choice, whether it be Christian, Hebrew, Muslim, I don't care, as long as it's teaching spiritual values. I said, I'm going to ask every one of these men to join an organization that's fighting for the rights of black people. That happened. So now the enemy said, well, what he did with the money? And when we called a press conference with the CPAs of, I think it's either 2 or 3 firms, laid it out for the world, these white folk wouldn't even print it, because they make their trade in keeping us suspicious and doubting the righteousness of each other. And I can't blame us, because most of the people that take our money are liars and thieves.
But in this digital age right now, you could track that. Like if we had a ambassador that actually, you could be the ambassador to that 5 cents economic development
I'm probably
program.
the only one they would trust.
Absolutely. And you can, just like you can track your online banking right now, you could track your online giving to this huge economic pool. But you, Minister Farrakhan, have done what absolutely no man in America has done. And that is figure out how to effectively affect foreign policy. You can go in nations and they roll out the red carpet for you. But for some of our, and I put this in quotes, Leaders here in America, they won't even open the gate for them. How have you accomplished that?
You know, everyone of our people respect courage. Respect a man that is unafraid to speak truth to power. So my reputation preceded me, because when Jesse Jackson was running for the presidency and members of the Jewish community came out against him, I stood up for Reverend Jackson's right to be president. Then I didn't realize I was stirring a hornet's nest. And when they saw that this black brother was taking them on for what they were saying and trying to do to Reverend Jackson, they marshaled their forces against me. And they thought I was going to lay down. But that's not the way my teacher taught me.
What did he do? What did you do?
I fought. And I met at Father George Clement's house when he was over, what's the name of his church? Holy Angels. And Judge Pincham was there, and I believe Father Flager may have been there. Father George Clements was there. People from the mayor's office were there, and they were telling me that please kind of tamp down with your talk about the Jews. And I said, look, I got so angry. I said, I'll go back to my corner and take the stool and beat the hell out of all of you.
Yes, sir.
You don't talk me down when I'm in a fight. If you can't encourage me to fight, then get the hell out the way. Because the fight is on. It's on. So after that, hey, they came after me so hard. And I had dinner with them. And when we had dinner at the home of, I think it was Rabbi Marks, and Rabbi Shalman was there, and Cupsinet was there, and many of you young people don't know Cupsinet, do you? But Tamara knows.
No, I don't. I'm with them. Don't get it twisted, no.
No, well, I mean, I always thought you were 90. No,
Take that mic away from
Earl
her.
Cupsinet was a great writer for one of the major newspapers in Chicago. And we had put out a book called The Secret Relationship Between Blacks and Jews. And we were talking and getting along fine. We even had dinner, because we can eat their food if they cook it right, and they can eat ours. And after dinner, they said to me, well, Farrakhan, everything was going nice, but this is going to be tough love. And listen to what they told me. They said, Farrakhan, if you want to be a friend of the Jewish community, we're going to have to watch you and listen to you for a protracted period of time until we are satisfied in words that you're a friend. And then they said, we want you to stand up and denounce that book, Secret Relationship Between Blacks and Jews. And third, they said, nobody that's not a friend of the Jewish community has ever been written of well in history, because they own all the publishing houses.
Minister
So they
Farrakhan.
wanted me to answer. I'm just going to make it real quick. Real quick.
You see these
So we
teas
gotta-
coming up, right?
Yeah. We got a few more commercials. We gotta get that money in. But I just want to end with this. They said, Farrakhan, you got your truth and we got ours. I said, sir, the Torah says justice stands afar off and equity cannot enter because truth has fallen in the streets. It's not your truth or my truth. We've got to agree on what is the truth. You have your perception and I have mine. I said, now about that book, Secret Relationship, I'll denounce it in the morning if you do this. Since we only quoted Jewish scholars, Jewish rabbis, Jewish historians, you get up in the morning and denounce every one of those scholars of yours as liars. And if you do that, I'll denounce the book. And lastly, I'm here because I want to be your friend. But if being your friend means I've got to deny the truth and apologize to you for telling the truth, yours is a friendship I don't need, and yours is a friendship I don't want. And the war was on.
So amazing.
So that's the way black leaders should be.
Yes.
Speak truth to power. Stand up and deliver the message. And God will protect you if you do that.
Brother Minister,
Thank
I
you
got
for
two
this show.
things to say to you.
Yes, ma'am.
Number one, we got to shout out to Joshua for making this possible. Joshua Farrakhan, thank you so much. And you have something coming out called Let's Change the World documentary of your life. People don't know that you are a accomplished violinist and that you are changing the world through your music. Now, I want you all to get his documentary as soon as it comes out, because it will change your life. You certainly have changed ours.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Darryl, Cole. I mean, Darryl,
Cooke, Darryl, Cooke, and B. Cole. You
Cook,
got it
and
right.
B. Cole,
Yep, you got it right.
and Tamara,
Yes.
and my wonderful engineer.
Walt Cannon.
Thank you all.
That's Cool Mo D's biggest fan.
All right.
It is.
Come on, man.
The Honorable Minister Farrakhan, I can't thank you enough on the behalf of my whole team. Miss Tamara Fair did just a fantastic job putting all this together. My brother Biko. To everyone in attendance today, you brothers did an outstanding job coming in here, setting it up, even when I wasn't on location, making sure that everything went smooth. And I commend you brothers to the fullest. I even got a high school buddy inside here that's on the detail. I love that, brother Marcus. Love you to the fullest. Minister, this is a day that will not leave my memory in the near future and perhaps never. This was a profound day. I have messages coming from everywhere right now about how uplifting this has been on this show today. And I just have to tell you, from the bottom of my heart, I am one of those men that you mentor from afar. And I do look at you as a surrogate father. And I thank you very much for coming on the show today and giving us the truthfulness. And I try to carry my platform the same way you carry the nation, with the brothers behind you that roll with you on the side of you. I feel the same way about my team. Thank you so much for coming in today and showing us what love looked like in public.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all.
We love you.
Listen, I'd like to thank all my listeners who tuned into the show today and continue to stay for the extra half an hour on the show. We thank you all so much. We love you in the city of Chicago, and for every area, for every person who can hear my voice right now. If you're going through your day, particularly on Sundays, and you don't have that inspiration, then know that we have it for you, but know without a doubt that our Father God Allah has your thought process locked in, stock, and barrel. I love you, Chicago. Tune back in to Darryl Cooke Live, 106.3 Chicago's R&B.